just jump in first. Tell us exactly where we're sitting right now.
We are sitting in the Palace of Variety on Times Square, 42nd Street, New York City. This is a dream come true for us and any vaudeville performer. In the heyday of vaudeville, the goal of every act was to play the Palace, which was the pinnacle of variety stage. And in our residence here at Shishama, we've created the Palace of Variety, and we are able to produce 10 shows a week of the Bindlestiff Family Circus and present another half a dozen shows ranging from comedy to drama to circus to puppetry, and keep the Free Museum of Times Square open for passersby.
What is significant about being at Times Square, this kind of thing?
It's the history of this type of entertainment. I mean, we are a block and a half away from Hubert's. We are 6 blocks away from B.F. Keith's Palace, that was the heyday of vaudeville. We're, within a block or two, or even within the same store, places that have been burlesque houses, vaudeville houses, strip joints, live sex joints. We're right in the middle of where popular entertainment and, the illegitimate theater has been able to really thrive for decades. And at this point it's kind of been taken over by Broadway, and you outside of here really don't find much on the way of popular entertainment that is affordable for a family to take their entire bunch to.
So I guess for start, I want to ask Keith, how long have you been? When did you meet Stephanie? How did you guys meet?
We were working at Graveyard Shift in an all-night diner down on 3rd Avenue and 9th Street called Around the Clock. And she kept bugging me to teach her how to eat fire, and eventually I took her to the back alley, showed her the basics of eating fire. We'd take it into the bar area, show everybody in the restaurant, and a month or two later we were a fire-eating duo doing kind of the transgressive underground cabaret scenes in parties in New York.
And Stephanie, if I could just ask, what was it like to meet a kindred spirit like Keith?
I came from a fine arts background. I had been a singer in a rock band. I had had some, performance experience with choral groups and, small theater productions. When I met Keith, I became entranced by the circus and the sideshow. I really hadn't been familiar with that whole end of performing spectrum. And through our mutual love of fire, we discovered this whole world of performing arts in which all of my interests and all of his interests could be explored. Making props, choreographing a show, working with fire, of course, was something that we both really loved, and just sort of took off from there. So it was really exciting for me. I felt like the whole world opened up, and of course, Keith as a partner is just the best. So it's been a very wonderful mutual explosion of love.
And I guess where did the Bindlestiff come in? I mean, so you met working at a diner, and then you...
We started Fire Play, which was the first name of our duo, and probably went a couple years doing Fire Play performances, and then the two of us went to Burning Man, which really kind of turned us on to the idea of the traveling troupe. We met up with Chicken John, who is the ringmaster of Circus Ridiculous, and decided that we would do the Bindlestiff Family Circus and Circus Ridiculous combined show. And it was, in the beginning, probably one of the best decisions and worst decisions we ever made in our life, because it was 25 or 30 of us playing punk rock dives all around the country, and sometimes making $200 to feed 25 people and get 3 vehicles to the next gig, and everybody was never sleeping. Those that needed medication didn't have it. Everyone was on wit's end all the time, starving, and some shows were absolutely magic, and others
pure hell.
You both were doing this together?
Yeah. Yep.
So you quit day work, you made this a full-time commitment?
Pretty much right away.
We were fired on the same day.
We had been working together with Fire for a little while in clubs around New York, and thought that we would go to New Orleans to street perform for Mardi Gras, which completely changed everything for us. We street performed, we learned about, showmanship and the utter determination and guts that it takes to be, in the middle of the street and demanding the attention of the public, demanding their money. I burned myself very badly, so I learned an important lesson about fire eating. Came back home from that, which was about 10 days, and had been fired. So we kind of looked at each other and thought, all right, let's make a go of it. And tried to get more bookings in clubs, decided that we would start learning more sideshow acts, decided to book a tour for ourselves. Got a magazine called, I think it was a Maximum Rock and Roll publication, like Musician's Guide to Touring. Looked up clubs all over the place, called his hometown in North Carolina, tried to get bookings there, and literally, put a show together and took it on the road. Built our first bed of nails. I smashed my first bucket of glass, and taught myself how to walk across glass. It was a definite turning point for us.
I know. I think somebody needs to get in.
Speeding. You were with Circus Ridiculous? I mean, sorry. Yeah, but but then, or you toured a bit. You really built up some, street cut, whatever, the chops. And then when did the Bindlestiff?
The Bindlestiff Circus actually became an entity before we ever had our first tour. As we got more interested in sideshow acts, Keith and I, one day I was looking through a thesaurus and I picked the name Bindlestiff because it leapt off the page. It had a nice mellifluous ring to it, and it actually is an old word for hobo or traveler. It refers to the stick in the bundle that a vagrant would carry as he went around from town to town. So that really appealed to us. We knew we wanted to tour. We knew we were going to spend the next several years eating out of cans of beans because you don't make any money doing this. So Bindlestiff was the name for us. The two of us did the very first Bindlestiff Family Circus tour with a suitcase of props each, a dolly with 3 or 4 bookcases on it, because at that time we were also a bookmobile, and we got on a Greyhound bus and we went up to Massachusetts. So that was the first tour. That was our first interstate traveling experience. The winter of '95, I think it was, we decided that we were going to produce a variety show at a little bar in our neighborhood of Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the Charleston. It was a former speakeasy in the 1920s and had a history of sort of local performances and cheap booze. We started doing shows there and meeting kindred spirits. We met a guy named Scotty the Blue Bunny, who was a performance poet who wanted to develop this character of a 6'4" gay flaming, gay rabbit. We met magicians, we met joke tellers, we met musicians, we met people that were interested in vaudeville and interested in circus, and it just sort of kept growing from there, so that by the time spring '96 rolled around, we had a crew to take on tour with us for the first time.
And that goes back to when we met Circus Ridiculous. It was just the two of us at Burning Man, and we came upon them, and they were burning their circus tent. And just, the fact of, us, is that too loud in the...
What's going on? Are they rehearsing
they're
or something?
setting up at least. And
Yeah, hold on a second. Door's coming open.
Yeah.
Can you, no, not at all. Yeah,
Where's
you
my
got
blowgun?
What can you add to that?
Then, basically, we were going to leave New York with Circus Ridiculous, but one of their people was in jail, one was in rehab, one had a broken arm. So we did the first 2 weeks of the tour as just the Bindlestiff Family Circus, which was, I think, 5 of us at that point. Steph, myself, Steph's sister, our roommate Ben, and Baby D, who's a transsexual accordionist who was the half and half at Coney Island for a while. And early on, I mean, she was basically the core of the Bindlestiff, music department. And kind of from that date forward, we really strive to always have live music with our show. So the five of us did the first few weeks of the tour, and then we went from North Carolina to Texas on a 2,000-mile drive, arrived there to the first gig that we hadn't booked, and there were 4 people in the audience. I think we made maybe $5 after a 2,000-mile drive, and only half of Circus Ridiculous had made it. The other half, we basically drove around town for 5 hours that evening looking for them. And so began the combined show tour. And in the next month, we learned everything really not to do on a tour.
3 vehicles, 25 people, 1 dog, 2 loaves of Wonder Bread, and maybe a quarter pound of bologna.
It was beautiful.
That was it. For weeks.
And it was all about passion. I mean, it was, a beautiful bit of chaos, calamity just rolling down the street.
Tell me, what can you describe your act, Keith? And then I'm going to have you, is it?
Well, Adam's back there now, and, she's still out there.
We went back there to see if are they rehearsing, or are they?
They're setting up for a show.
They're probably not rehearsing.
They will be probably
Probably
soon.
not.
They'll be
Rehearsing, I can't. Well, I think we've got a problem down here, so just get
Get what we can get. Can you, Keith, tell us what is part of what's your act? What are we going to see tonight?
I can tell you what you're going to see tonight. I cover quite a bit of ground, going from being a tramp clown to doing sideshow. Tonight, I do kind of a mixture of circus and sideshow skills, really showing the role of the variety entertainer. You'll see me spin a rope. You'll see me spin a rope with my tongue. I will do a Diablo act, which is like the giant yo-yo. I'll do the human blockhead, sword swallowing, and if by chance we need any other kind of filler, I may juggle, do a bed of nails. Pretty much I can do just about any act pretty badly, and some of them I think I'm pretty damn good at.
Stephanie, can you tell us what do you do?
What I do in the show? Ordinarily, I'm the girl out on stilts half an hour before the show starts, flyering. I go into Times Square with flyers and try to get some attention for the show. So I'm kind of the hawker. I'm the ringmaster of the show. I MC, I introduce the acts. I do a Target bullwhip act in the show, which you'll see tonight. I lie on the bed of nails. I walk on the broken glass. Here we're not allowed to do fire eating, unfortunately, but that's been a long time staple, the fire eating act that the 2 of us do, or sometimes I do it solo. I've done trapeze act, I've done juggling, I've done magic, I've done pretty much any sideshow act you can name in the show, blockheading.
What's your favorite?
What's my favorite? Oh boy, I love fire. I've always loved fire the most. I think it's the most sensual, exciting, visceral, magical, beautiful act. Since I can't do it here, I think my favorite is actually being the MC. I love the connection with the audience. I love to sort of do everything I can to guide their experience towards pleasure, to get them to react to me, introducing things. I love to get the chance to look at them throughout the show. I don't just come out once and see what they're going through. I get to see them between every act and check in with them, and I like that role a lot.
And Keith, do you have a favorite? Keep 2 shots, Dave. 2 shots, be great. Do you have a favorite?
What is my favorite act these days? I always like sword swallowing, because it took the longest, and it was the grossest to learn and took the longest of,
It was
to some
gross.
degree. I mean, 5-ball juggling's taking probably just as long, if not a little bit longer.
He would practice every morning. I'd hear him in the living room with a wooden spoon down his throat. It was just awful. Before breakfast, of course. Blah. Just terrible.
But these days, probably rope spinning I like quite a bit.
You said practice sword swallowing. That was really a tough thing to learn.
Yeah, I mean, the body does not want 24 inches of solid steel going down the throat. I mean, it really, in the beginning, does everything it possibly can to keep you from wanting to do that. And you know, for a couple years, the body said, "What the hell are you doing?" So, you know, you're on the verge of vomiting for, you know, moments and hours at a time, because you know that eventually it may work.
Hello, come on in.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it, it's good. We like these improvised moments. Thank you very much for help earlier. What about rope spinning? I mean, what's that?
It's like a classic Western. We did a whole Western production this winter, Buckaroo Bindlestiff's Wild West Gender Bender Jamboree, which gave me an opportunity to work on some skills, or present some skills that I've been working on for the past few years, being gun spinning and rope spinning primarily. We're both members of the Wild West Arts Club, and go to Las Vegas each year to, you know, try to pick up a few new tricks. But kind of because of that and some fascination in Tombstone, Arizona, and the ghost towns of the West, and, you know, shooting black powder 6-shooters, I got really turned on to the idea of, you know, Bindlestiff putting on a whole Western show.
So you got good with the rope.
I got pretty good with the rope. We have a guy, Angelo Iadicey, who's currently down at Country Tonight performing in, I guess, Gatlinburg, Tennessee area. He's phenomenal with the ropes, and he was, you know, when it came, I did rope spinning in drag, and we had a cute little couple moments together, but when it really came to the rope spinning act, he's, you know, he was the man.
Who else are we going to see tonight? Tell us who we're going to see.
You're going to see Montana Miller, who's an aerialist from Massachusetts, and this will be her second time with us. This clown from Ringling Brothers, Adam Kugler, who we met last week, he said, "Can I perform in your window?" And we were like, sure. And he amazed me and had an opening. So 1 week later, he's on the stage on the inside. And tonight we also have Magic Brian, who's been performing with us for a number of years, almost since the beginning, but not quite. And he will, I think, be doing the famous geek act, in which he will be geeking a chicken.
Can you say that again?
Tonight, Magic Brian will be geeking a chicken, doing a classic sideshow piece that has been banned in many states.
Sorry, can you say that? To Jeff, though.
Tonight, Magic Brian will be geeking a chicken, which I know has been banned in many states, but here in Times Square, he's going to be biting the head off a chicken.
Is it, okay, one more time. Yeah, we'll get it right.
One more time with feeling.
Tonight, Magic Brian will be geeking a chicken. For those out in TV land, that means biting the head off of a chicken for your perverse pleasure, which is actually an act that is classic in sideshow tradition, but has been banned in most states in the United States.
And rightfully so. It's bloody awful. Bloody, bloody, bloody.
And can you tell us if that's real or not, or if it's
Of course it's real. Are you kidding? Is that a serious question? Everything in here is real, real, real. Or your money back. No, I don't want to say that. Yeah, it's real.
No, that's all right.
It's
We
real.
cut before the last one. Can you tell us again, you know, one thing, I'd like to get you to each say your name and tell you're with the Bindlestiff. Do you get,
You want singles?
yeah, singles.
Okay, Keith first. Just kind of
Yeah.
lean a little bit that way. Stand by. Yeah, sorry, Keith just sitting on.
Wow.
I'm such and such with the Bindlestiff Circus.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm Keith Nelson, and I'm co-founder and co-president of the Bindlestiff Family Circus.
Okay, stand by. Yeah, Keith, you kind of lean that way. And
Get out of my shop. I'm Stephanie Monseu, and I am.
Wanna start again?
I'm Stephanie Monseu. My character is Philomena Bindlestiff. I'm the ring mistress of the circus, and co-founder and vice president, since I've been told that co-president does not exist in legal terms.
And how long have you and Keith been partners now?
yeah, sit up,
I'm
Keith.
sorry.
I think it's about 7 years. I think we've been together 8 years, and the circus is coming up on 7 years. Wow.
We're common law in every state but New York.
Yeah, it's quite a while.
And what did, so this is a non-profit organization, or you're hooked up with what's the Chahasma?
Shashama.
Shashama is a nonprofit theater group who runs 5 black box theaters here on Times Square. Bindlestiff Family Circus has been granted a residency, I guess you could say, in one of the theaters. We incorporated as a nonprofit 2 years ago and have spent a majority of the past 2 years scrambling for funding and trying to attract donors and grant writing and trying to learn the ins and outs of being a nonprofit company.
No, that's it.
Okay.
We stop?
Yeah.